Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning into this video. I wanted to offer kind of a, not necessarily a disclaimer, but maybe just sort of a prelude to the rest of the video. So what we did is we asked several of our seniors to kind of weigh in on some questions about what they feel like or what their perspective is on what's going on right now. Of course, it's impacted their senior year to a significant degree. And not every one of the students responded and sent us back a video, but we got a handful of them. We edited the video, and I guess really here's my heart behind this. There's a potential for you to watch this and go, wow, that was kind of a downer. Like that was sort of discouraging, right? To hear some of the perspectives and things. Here's really the goal and the purpose of what I wanted to accomplish by doing this as a student pastor. I've challenged our students for a long time to be authentic and to be real and to be genuine. And so if a student comes to us and says, Pastor John, this wrecked my senior year. This sucks. It's one of the worst experiences of my entire life, and I think the world's going to end. I value their willingness to be honest and their willingness to be transparent on those things. And it gives us an opportunity to encourage. And so what we've done is we've compiled these perspectives, and they're free to have their opinion and free to have their perspective on what they feel like this whole thing looks like and how it's impacting their lives. And then we've tacked at the end of it a message that I prepared to encourage their hearts a little bit. We have a responsibility to encourage our students as they walk through this, understanding that for a lot of them, this is a heartbreaking thing, and that there have been tears shed, and that this is a very difficult path for them to walk. And so again, as you watch this, I don't want you to walk away discouraged thinking, wow, that was really kind of a bummer of a thing to engage in. I want you to see the reality of the heartbreak and how this has impacted some of our students. But I want you to be encouraged by the end of it, that God has a plan for your life as you walk through this. I mean, I could easily look at scripture and read some of the things that many of the people engaged in scripture go, man, that's a real kind of a downer, has how that played out. But David, through the Psalms, regularly just expresses his heart towards God and then finds encouragement because he had the opportunity, he had the outlet and the avenue to be able to do that. And so that's the heart behind this video. We gave some of our students the opportunity to have an outlet to express how they feel. And I challenge you at home to engage in these conversations, to open up the door for your student to express, hey, what is this like for you? I get that you're at school or you're at home being schooled now and it's shifted for you. And instead of kind of getting caught up in the hustle and bustle of, hey, this is just life, have the discussion as we've done and walk away from it looking for the light at the tunnel and seeing how God has a desire to impact our lives as we walk through these times together. Hope you enjoy. All right, so first question, in your own words, what in the world is going on right now?
I have no idea what is going on in the world right now. It was like one moment I was at school and everything was fine, and then in less than 24 hours, school was canceled, church was canceled, Flower City was canceled, and so much more. And I was like, what happened? It was like this. So it's kind of crazy, kind of scary, and I just really don't even know.
Right now, we are facing an international pandemic. It's not just Western civilization, it's not just Eastern civilization, it's not one or two countries, it's the whole world. And it is scary. And it is life or death.
So, as you all know, the coronavirus is going on. I don't know, it kind of hit hard, hit quick. Everyone's in a panic, everyone's in a scare, and it's just one of those things that, I don't know, not many people thought too much of, and all of a sudden it just hits you right in the gut. And I don't know, you got this whole terror going around, and everyone's panicking, stocking up on stuff from Wegmans and toilet paper and all that. So, I don't know, you just got chaos going on right now.
So as I'm sure you're well aware, we are currently in the midst of a global pandemic called coronavirus. Now, this virus is causing havoc all across the world in great impacts Even in our local community, grocery stores are nearly cleaned out of food, movie theaters and restaurants are getting shut down, and people are generally in a frenzy wherever you go.
Question number 2. How did you feel when you found out that the virus was going to be hitting the United States?
I feel like it was bound to happen just because we do live in a globalized world. However, it did hit close to home for me before it even started affecting my home, because I have a lot of friends and family living in different countries.
When this first hit the United States, kind of just was like, well, it's not such a big deal, it's just a cold or something, right?
When I learned that it was hitting the US, and when I learned how rapidly it spread across the US to every single state, it was scary. Something was invading my home and my country that we didn't know how to fix or control. But it has been interesting to see my country united, because so often, especially recently, I feel like I only ever see it divided.
When I first heard that the virus is hitting the U.S., I didn't think much of it. I was like, it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't mean much to me. It's not going to affect me as much. And then I was just like, it's not that big deal, It's not going to affect me. And little did I know it would. It affected a lot of things, a lot of people. And it just kind of hit really hard. And our senior year took a big hit, so.
Number 3. Do you and your family have enough toilet paper right now?
Luckily, the Furness household has tons of toilet paper. A day ago, we had 3 rolls left. And yesterday, our package came from Amazon, and we got 100 rolls of toilet paper.
We only had 2 rolls of toilet paper left, so my mom was at like 3 Wegmans, a bunch of Walmarts, all these places, and as far as the eye could see down the aisle, there was not a single speck or roll of toilet paper. So my mom was on Amazon and she found some, and the next day there were 2 human-sized boxes of toilet paper on our front step. So we're fine, but if all else fails, there's always trees and leaves, right?
How did you feel when you found out that this was going to be impacting your senior year?
So I'm homeschooled. This doesn't really affect my education or my graduation, but I did have to quit my job because I am living with a family member who was immune system compromised.
The one area where this virus actually impacts me is in regards to college visits. I had a couple schools I wanted to go back and visit and participate in some event days, but all those events are now either canceled because the school is shut down or are completely not even being talked about because the school is no longer operational or completely online because of the coronavirus.
Yeah, this could be pretty impactful on my senior year. Might not have my graduation, hopefully that doesn't get canceled, or my senior trip this year. Other than that, not such a big deal to me.
In what areas of your senior year would you say that this hits you particularly the hardest?
I think I would have held the weight of all the stuff I participated in and did last year in a very different light had I known that it was gonna be my last chance. I never got too emotional about all the stuff that I participated in as a teenager and a high school student because I always had peace in knowing that I still had one more year. I had peace in knowing that I still had this year to say goodbye and make it the best year ever and go out swinging. And now I don't. And that's really hard.
What part of the virus hitting the world would you say is the most heartbreaking for you?
The most heartbreaking part of all of this is to see the devastation it's causing those that I know and love, and to watch grandparents have to try to figure out how they're going to get their prescriptions, and to watch people cry because their food that they normally buy is not there, and they just don't know what they're going to do. I think that really strikes at the core of us as human beings trying to help each other out. But I think therein lies where the Lord is using this, because we as Christians, we are called to love others as we love ourselves. And we can do that in tangible ways right now when in other times we may not have been able to.
Something that's super sad is just the fact that, people are actually dying from this and getting hurt from this and being in quarantine. People are losing family members. It's sad.
Overall, I think the most heartbreaking thing is just the way people are nonchalantly talking about it. And then even just having this go around, thinking of all the deaths that are going on, thinking of all the sickness, the hospitalizations, all of it, and it just hit hard. And I know that the amount of a senior year that it took out for me, I don't know, it's just heartbreaking to see how it all just goes together. So I would just say probably just all the chaos that's going on is honestly the most heartbreaking part of it.
It hurts me. And it is my sincerest hope that someday we look back on this history and we do remember the tragedy, we do remember the losses, but that we would also get to look back and remember a time when the whole world was united over a common goal. And the whole world was trying to figure out how to save humanity. And this is not the time to be selfish. This is not the time to be every man for himself. This is the time to unify as the human race. And this is a time to be the best versions of ourselves we can be. Let's not ruin history with all the people who are discouraging.
Man, my heart really goes out to our students, especially our seniors. And I wanted to take just a moment, if I could, to share with you just kind of a word of encouragement. So in the book of Joshua, the people of Israel are moving through this new promised land, right? And God has communicated that this is the land that I've already promised to you. It belongs to you already. But there's already people in the land, and these people were wicked people. And we won't get into all of the details of that, but there was an evil presence there. And God sends these spies to check out this land, particularly the city of Jericho. And in the middle of all of what God is doing, kind of this bigger picture emphasis, there's a woman that kind of ends up kind of like caught up in that. I want to share this with you. So Joshua chapter 2, verse 1, it says, "And Joshua, the son of Nun, sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, 'Go view the land, even Jericho.' And they went, and they came into a harlot's house named Rahab, and they lodged there." So when we take a look at this passage, there's this big picture story of what God's doing. And it seems as though this woman, this prostitute, this woman Rahab, it just kind of ends up in it, right? And if you're familiar with the story, the city ends up conquered, but because Rahab helps these spies, her life is spared. And I was just processing that through the lens of what that must have been like for her, to see this big picture, God's leading these people to my doorstep, and my life is saved as a result of that. But why, what's my piece in this? What is God trying to do? Or am I just like a side, kind of a side element in the bigger picture of what's taking place, and what's happening in my life really isn't that big of a deal, and it really doesn't matter. And I was wondering, man, maybe that's where you feel like you're at today, where, hey, there's this global pandemic, but I don't feel like I'm affected by it. God's working in all these other lives, and there's all this stuff taking place, but then there's me. And it's ruined some things for me, maybe my senior year, but how exactly is this part of my story, and what exactly is the big deal here? And my challenge to you is this, man, when you look at the rest of Rahab's story, right? When you continue her line through Scripture, what you're going to see is that David, the greatest king of all Israel, actually came from this woman, her family line. She was like the great-great-great-grandmother or something like that. And David's the greatest king of all Israel. It says that David had a heart after God. And then if you continue on, you're going to see that Jesus Christ actually comes through the line of David. And so where Rahab could be looking at this big picture, like, is my story part of this bigger picture? Man, yes, absolutely. What God was doing in the lives of the Israelites, it wasn't just that God was one facet and one-sidedly dealing with one group of people. God is looking big picture. And what I want you to understand is that your story as an individual, as a student, or where you find yourself in life, God is not just doing something globally. He's doing something individually. And God has a purpose and a plan. and a reason why everybody is experiencing what they're experiencing right now. God has a reason for me personally in my life story as to why I am experiencing this. It's not that I just happen to be here and that I just happen to live where I live. It's that God is working in my story. And I don't know what that looks like. I really don't. Perhaps there's an athlete at home right now, and you're now realizing and wrapping your mind around the fact that your last game, your last meet, your last match, you didn't realize it was your last in high school, but it is. And maybe the message that God's trying to communicate to you, and I'm not saying it's easy, but it's something like this. You're more than just your athletic ability. That how much you've poured into that and you feel like that is the focus of your life, that God sees you as more than just your athletic abilities. Or maybe, who knows, maybe there was a grad party that was going to take place and the drinking was going to get out of hand and something was going to happen and a person was going to lose their life. All I'm saying is that God is working in everybody's life individually through all of this big picture to give himself honor and glory. And again, I'm not saying that I can tell you what that looks like for you, but I am saying that it's not just a matter of you happen to be caught up in the middle of all of this. And the big picture of what God's doing is over here, or the big picture of what God's doing is actually over here. No, you are a part of the big picture of what God is doing. Just like this woman Rahab. She was insignificant in this city. She was a prostitute. She would have been socially as low as you could possibly get. And yet her story plays into the bigger picture of how God ends up saving his people. Plays into the picture of how God brought Jesus Christ into this world to save not just Israel, but to save all of us. And so, guys, I can't answer all of your questions. I don't believe anybody can. But what I can say is that God has a reason for you as a student, as a senior, even though there's this sense of loss. It wasn't accidental in the eyes of God. He intends to use it for your good and for his glory. God bless. I hope that encourages your heart today.